In a rare move, we're finding out that Deadpool has been released in China. And when we say Deadpool and Wolverine has been released in China, we assumed that it would be heavily censored. Well, it sounds like it might not have been censored at all. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here with me is Mr. VashSky. Vash, you saw Deadpool. How would you classify this movie? Is it light PG fare for the whole family? Is it maybe venturing into that PG-13 realm, or is it like a Halo, the video game, where it's rated M for mature, but mostly because there's just a little bit of blood in it? Where does it stand on the scale as far as ratings go?
Oh, E for everyone, rated G. It's fine, Jonas. Bring the kids. It'll be fine. No, don't do that. That is, don't even think about it. It is a hard R, as some people have said. I believe the F word is used 118 times, if I recall correctly.
I've heard 116 myself, but who's counting? This story out of the Wall Street Journal, though, fascinated me when I read it. There is Deadpool shooting Wolverine with guns. How Disney's Deadpool danced around China censors with drug swears and all. This by Eric Schwartzel and Brian Spiegel in Beijing. There's also an additional contributor. Numerous references to cocaine, innuendos galore, and protagonists who can't go a minute without dropping. Well, I mean, if the movie is 2 hours and 116, anyways, whatever. China's film censors had their work cut out for them. The arrival of Deadpool and Wolverine represents the latest turning point in the twisting relationship between the American entertainment industry and the world's second largest movie market. When you say it's the second largest movie market, they only made about 25 million so far on that. So just, take that into consideration when we talk about how big China is. Hollywood's raunchiest ever export to China. Entertainment executives who had grown accustomed to obeying strict censorship rules were surprised that Deadpool and Wolverine was released in China at all. To make it happen, editors in charge of adjusting the movie based on those demands got creative. Body language and crass dialogue. Now, body, for those of you who are listening and not watching, body, B-A-W-D-Y, body, probably indicating vulgarity in euphemisms for narcotics and certain body parts. Local language subtitles blunted out edgier themes. Toward the end of the movie, one of the characters complains about withdrawal symptoms and saying, "I'm all out of devil's dandruff and I'm shaking like something." The English dialogue is still audible in the Chinese release, but the subtitles show the character saying more tamely that she's beaten an old addiction and leaving out the references to drugs, and the word was swapped out for massage gun. So if I'm reading this statement correctly, it sounds like they didn't actually change much of the dialogue. They just changed the subtitles. Vash, am I reading that incorrectly?
I don't think you're reading that incorrectly at all. It would appear they did like what is it? You know those animes, Jonas, that you sometimes find out there, and the subtitles don't quite match up with what the character is actually saying.
Yeah.
And maybe there are fan subtitles in order to augment those. It sounds like one of those situations.
Yeah, I'm reminded of an example that one of my friends gave me, that he was watching an anime and the subtitle was "Keep your distance, for I burn with the rage of 1,000 suns." And the dialogue that was dubbed in was "Keep your distance because I'm real mad." Okay, I think there's a little bit of a difference here for those of the Chinese audience that are native English speakers or English speakers at all. It seems like they might be getting a completely different experience with Deadpool and Wolverine than the people who can only read the subtitles. Fascinating. Let's continue on. Deadpool and Wolverine collected more than 440 million worldwide in its first weekend, including 24 million from China. And that is the second largest movie market. That's fascinating. It's the highest opening weekend performance for an American film since Godzilla x Kong in March, in a rare bright spot since Chinese audiences started largely shunning U.S. movies 2 years ago. Outside a shopping mall in Beijing, a fan of the film named Qin Hong stopped by a pop-up exhibit promoting the movie, snapping a photo of himself with a metal cutout of Wolverine. He'd heard the bad language in the new movie, but chalked it up to the type of roles actors were playing. "I wasn't offended," Qin said. It could be Chin. I'm not sure how the Q is pronounced in this case. That is a very extensive promotional materials. And this is
I was about
in
to say.
Shanghai. So I would have assumed with all of this English lettering that this would have been in America, but no, this is Shanghai. So fascinating that a character like Deadpool is so popular over there.
Well, I was going to say that the Marvel franchise has usually been pretty popular over there in China. Now, maybe not recently, but historically, I mean, a big presence there. I know they want a big presence within their parks when it comes to Marvel product. We're hearing rumors about Hong Kong maybe getting the same e-ticket attraction that is coming to DCA, if it ever gets there, that is, and maybe even a bigger presence for the Marvel brand in Shanghai Disneyland. So they historically have been receptive. I guess there was an open question about how they would receive Deadpool. We have no answer.
Yeah, and whether or not some of the elements of him would be well received over there. Let's talk about what usually happens in China. So, to gain release in a Chinese market, studio executives must screen a finished cut of each movie for a small group of propaganda officials. Those propaganda officials being specifically associated with the party in power over there. The censors watch for cosmetic infractions such as a murder scene deemed too bloody or a sultry scene deemed too risque, but they also look for what they interpret as deeper thematic problems, such as undermining of the state or authority. Decisions by their movie gatekeepers are among several weather vanes that cultural leaders in the U.S. turn to for a read on relations between the two countries. Hollywood films started flowing into China in the 90s and part of a broader economic thaw. We aren't going to get too much into some of this, but they may be looser because they can be, said one distribution executive. We're not a threat to them anymore. That is a fascinating statement. Now, as far as Marvel goes, Marvel has always tried to have box office releases in China. That was a big deal to them. And there was a moment when Chapek was in office as the CEO of the company when it seemed like relations with China were not great. And there were rumors going around that Bob Chapek was trying to figure out a way to remain economically stable just in case they lost access to or ownership, what little ownership they have, of Shanghai Disney. There were other elements that went south on that as well. Vash, did you have something to say there?
Well, I was going to say, too, at that same time, Bob Iger, I believe, gave an interview in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and was asked about the China question at that time. And he was saying that even his enthusiasm had cooled at that same time. So there was a lot to do when it came to China and maybe the company's enthusiasm when it came to that specific market.
Right. And there was a moment when not many American movies were being seen in China, and especially not Disney movies. And once Mark Parker was made chairman of the board, all of a sudden you had a backlog of Marvel titles that had made it into theaters during China's Golden Week. And of course, Avatar 2 made it over there. Avatar being the more popular over there because that translates a little bit better. Also, not technically a Disney movie, despite the fact that right now they own the rights because they bought Fox. But Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania did not do that well at the box office over there. Mark Parker, also obviously an American, but he's in charge of Nike, which obviously does a lot of business, or maybe we should say a lot of production comes out of China. A lot of small hands doing that work.
Very small hands indeed, it would seem. Now, we did have some coverage on China getting a copy of Deadpool. We were speculating at the time how they would actually go about this censorship effort, and it looks like we have our answer provided here. You know, Jonas, we have to somehow get a copy of the Chinese version of this, because I am very curious to see just how they were able to make this Chinese approved, let's say, because man, oh man, is it violent? Is it crass? It's all the things you read about and more.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing to think about. In another bit in this article here, they talk about how Deadpool 2, when it was finally released in China, Deadpool did get released over there, but obviously much tamer than the original film. When it was released in China, Deadpool 2 had the subtitle Deadpool 2, I Love My Family, which is bewildering from an American standpoint. I've watched the first one just to understand what's in it, and that's kind of when I got out of the series was about that point, and that's fine, whatever. For people who enjoy that, that's on your own conscience. I'm not gonna fight you there. But for me, I figure if I know what's in it and I don't want to make those kind of jokes in my daily life, I probably don't need to enjoy those jokes as much as it would be to go to an R-rated comedy there. That being said, most people call me a prude when I say, I'm trying not to do that in my life.
Hey, Jonas, if you keep going on like this, I don't think Kara's going to do our outro anymore.
Well, yes.
Records it new every time.
That being said, let's get to that. We want to throw this to our commenters. If you've seen this, would you want to see a Chinese cut of Deadpool? It sounds like it's just subtitles in Chinese that probably Mandarin put at the bottom of the screen. That would be something. Anyways, like this video if you like this video, hit the notification bell if you want to be notified as soon as we release a video, and consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.